This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Coffee with Kenobi. This is your weekly, well, are we weekly, or are we just almost every other day now? Spoiler-free place for Star Wars community and conversation. I'm your host, Dan Zare. Thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. I so much appreciate all of you following along in the Star Wars Celebration Europe experience. It has been great fun bringing it to you at the time of this recording. I am near home. It's been a really long day. I was actually not able to be at Celebration for the final day because it ended on Monday and I have to teach on Tuesday. So I left very, very early on Monday morning. I was in 4 different time zones, 4 different airports, 3 different countries, and 3 different flights, and I'm almost home. So it's been a long day, but a really, really, really fun day. But as I was driving home, I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't give a Day 3 recap, which was my last day at Star Wars Celebration. The main panel that morning was the Star Wars Villains panel, which I was not able to be a part of. I had some other appointments that I had to run and do. But it was certainly fun to catch the live stream of, and I know a lot of you who are home watching the live stream know how much fun the live stream has been. The setup was great. Anthony and Christina and Kristen and everyone were just so marvelous and so personable, and major shout out, major props to them for another very fantastic show. Lucasfilm does a great job of making everybody a part of it and letting everybody see and experience all of these Star Wars celebrities and personalities and authors. Tremendous to see. So my morning, I had recorded the Day 2 recap, which you heard recently, and then I went on the show floor briefly. There were some parts of the show floor I had not seen. I went back through and videoed some more stuff in the Hasbro booth because, come on, it's Hasbro. It's great fun. And then I checked out the tattoo parlor. It's always fun to see people coming out of there with their brand new Star Wars tattoos, and I love admiring them. And I still don't have one because, you know, I'm a wimp. So that's probably it. And I don't know. It would just be so hard. I will tell you, and long-time listeners of the show will appreciate and think this is amusing, but I was seriously thinking, gosh, it'd be so cool to get a Chopper tattoo, especially since he's going to be in the live-action Ahsoka series. I didn't, but I do think that a lot of you would appreciate that, especially, again, as I just mentioned, if you've been listening to the show for a while, especially when we covered Star Wars Rebels as it came up. And then a great thrill for me, Father Jimmy is a good friend of mine that I've never gotten a chance to meet in person. We connected online because he's a listener of the show and a man of great faith, obviously, as a Catholic priest. And it was great. He and I spent a lot of the day together hanging out, and as you can probably hear that clicking sound, I am in fact driving home as I record this, as I mentioned. That's always the tradition for the end of big conventions. Anyway, Father Jim and I got to meet up. I took him around the show floor, give him the lay of the land, and then he and I met up much later as I went and talked to the Hasbro creative team, and you will hear that interview right now. I'm here on the show floor at the Hasbro. Patrick and Chris, gentlemen, great to see you both again.
Yeah, great to see you.
Awesome, thanks for taking the time. Excited to chat.
Of course. Well, first off, the panel yesterday was electric. I was everything. I was just taking all kinds of pictures and just very excited. Well, we can focus first on the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. What are some highlights that you're both so impressed with or proud of?
Yeah, for Return of the Jedi 40th, for me, it's Emily's, I'm going to call it, we should brand it, Emily's Jabba 4-pack. Like, that was a, labor of love for her. She was pushing for those figures, and she was right. And just, the community has wanted them for so long, and just seeing the excitement and the joy, like, that's what gets me going in the morning, is the happiness that we're able to bring for folks. And folks who wanted to complete their skiff displays, get Velkin Dezeri, get Tam Drengarin, Tessic, obviously, Squidhead, first time in years and years. So, I mean, that 4-pack, Reese getting him back out there as well, that 4-pack is magical. So kudos to Emily for pushing that.
Yeah, and for me, I think the Black Series on on cards that harken back to those original cards. That's a fun place for me is seeing that, and specifically within that, the R2D2 from Black Series that's a really meaningful update, and it's a beautiful figure, and I know it's spot on. So
yeah, because you mentioned that it's the right size and it's got so many features. It's pretty impressive, pretty second. I was most taken by the Jabba thing, of course, is great, seeing Jabba in the vintage pack. But the Force Ghost 3-pack with the Hayden Christensen, which I believe this is the first time you guys have done Hayden as a sculpt from Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, it is. And it's a different head sculpt. He's a little lighter and brighter, and yeah, he's healed.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a really beautiful pack, and our team has posed him out, the 3 Force Spirits with Luke and Leia from other Black Series selections in the case there to just recreate that moment.
I love that. I thought that was really, really cool because it's in a 3-pack, but it's also 3 individual cards.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's why I always appreciate how Hasbro is sure to give us fans who've been fans for such a long time the classic look, right? The classic feel, which leads me to my love language, the retro line. What can you share about all the fun things on the retro line?
Oh, well, it's my special place too. I understand the passion there. I mean, it's one of those things that I feel like retro brings a lot of new people back in. Well, not new people, but people who were with us a while ago, growing up with Star Wars, brings them back in and allows a way to re-interact with Star Wars in a familiar fashion, and then that opens up doors for them. So looking at doing new stuff like the Book of Fett figures that we've revealed recently, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff going on in there, and playing with the vintage or with the original Kenner stuff and how they might have done things. So yeah, I mean, you can tell.
Yeah.
This is all
Yeah.
See my face?
Yeah, I know.
I'm smiling.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. When I first watched the episode where Chrysanthemum appeared, I thought, Hasbro. I hope Hasbro makes a retro. Yeah. Because it's great because even though he's a Wookiee, he doesn't look like you took Chewbacca and just painted him a different color. Right. Like it's a whole new thing, and that's the authenticity and detail and passion. And I'm always fascinated by how do you take a brand new figure but make it retro style and there isn't like a template from before.
Yeah, well that's the team, and kind of built out of an understanding of what retro was and how retro was defined, why it looked the way it did, and working with some amazingly talented sculptors. So the team that sculpts those has some lineage back to the original days at Kenner. And we have a lot of conversations about just, how would that be made and what would be the limitations of that? What kind of weirdness do we need to work in to make it feel appropriate? And then things like on the Chrysanthemum figure that you mentioned, his armor piece that goes over him, how would Kenner have addressed that?
Yes.
And we did it in a way that I feel matches what Kenner would have done back in the day, and that's as a separate piece that kind of traps over and pins through. So
yes.
Chris has worked with a lot of those folks from the original Kenner days, so he is uniquely skilled to get into the heads and minds of how Kenner would have done it.
Right, and I know I've asked you this plenty of times, but we're all fans. We liked it when we were kids, and now you get to work on the line and bring this stuff to life that when you were a kid you could only dream about. I know it's a job, but it's also a passion. I mean, that's got to be a really fulfilling experience for both of you.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's, obviously there's meetings, there's like data entry systems, there's all that stuff that comes with the normal job. But at the end of the day, like I remember years ago, like being in a meeting debating which version of Darth Vader we were going to do, and it's like, if that's the stuff you're working on and debating, like we're really blessed, like we're really lucky, and we owe a lot to the community for making our jobs possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we were in one of the panels the other day, and one of the actors from the show is standing up there saying, like every once in a while he just yells out, "We work on Star Wars," and that's kind of how it feels every day. Yeah.
Well, when I was walking around earlier, I know you revealed it yesterday at the panel, but of course Indiana Jones. I mean, I love Star Wars, but my favorite character is Indiana Jones,
awesome.
And I probably a lot of people of our generation are the same way. But seeing Short Round in Black Series, I never even dreamed about him wearing. I actually have goosebumps now. Him wearing the leather jacket and Indy/Harrison's hat.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing to work on those.
Yeah, no, I mean, Indy, like I've said before, like it's hard to choose between your children, but for me, like, I love Star Wars. Indy's like my true passion. I think I've said before, I became a history major in college because of the TV show. Like, I can talk about the TV show all day, the movies I've seen a million times. And yeah, it's, there's so many emotional bonds in that. Like, the Indy and Dr. Henry Jones Sr., like, reconciliation after years. And if you watch the Young Indiana Jones show, you'll see their breaking point. But yeah, short round, absolutely. Like, that scene that the team recreated for the slide that we showed in the presentation with the Skull Temple, like, it brings tears to your eyes.
Yes.
So many emotional, just important, special moments from our childhood, and great to be able to bring them to life.
It's great. And obviously, I haven't gotten to get my hands on short round, but the hat almost looks through the glass like it's actually felt. It looks like that.
Oh, well, I think that's just a tribute to the team that works on it. I mean, Tom and the sculpting team there, I mean, just beautiful sculpts across the board on everything they touch.
Yeah.
But on those, I think it was a passion for them, too, to really nail that stuff down. And then deco on those things, just taking it to another level. So.
Yes. Well, and I thought it was a really nice touch that you gave away 2 sail barges. And I'm not ashamed to admit I was almost belly on the floor looking under my seat. That must have been fun to hearing that excitement in the room.
No, absolutely. Like, we've had some questions of what's your favorite Star Wars product you've ever worked on, and I think for me it's been the 2017 Black Series Grand Admiral Thrawn exclusive,
yes.
But then also the barge. Like, you talk about emotional moments. Like, we forget now, that thing was 5 days away and it was not funded. So I've told the story before, I was in the office when it funded, like watching that number go up, and when it went up, the entire building erupted in cheers. So that sail barge, you talk about like labors of love, that was amazing. And it's obviously now, it's the 5th anniversary of us launching that campaign, 40th anniversary. We knew that 4-pack was coming out with those barge denizens, and so we wanted to celebrate the barge one more time.
Oh, hey, very, very well done. Well, gentlemen, looking forward as always to more live streams and more events and more pre-orders, and I'll be one of the first one on there. Thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again to Chris and Patrick for chatting with me. I'm lucky I get to talk to those guys every few months on Hasbro interview calls, which I know you've heard before, and I always like seeing that they're excited, and Chris especially, as you heard, and if you've heard me interview him before, we both like that retro line so much. It's fun. And I know, I talked about that yesterday too, but my gosh. And then today there were news of all the other Indiana Jones merchandise, but I'm just jumping all over the place. So anyway, one thing you're actually doing while I'm recording this is you're helping me to stay awake so I don't have jet lag, which I am massively a fan of, because the time difference for me is 6 hours, which is really unique. So I'm recording this for example, I'm recording this at 8, which means in London right now it's 2:06 in the morning. But I feel like I've already adjusted because I'm not really all that tired. We'll see, friends. We'll see. So anyway, after that, after interviewing Hasbro, I went back and I caught up with Father Jimmy again, walked around. I got to run into Ian Thompson, who is a great friend of the show and a great guy and a good friend of mine. Sorry I didn't get to spend more time with him, but that's just kind of the trick of that. And I got to see Alan from Star Wars 7x7, which is also wonderful. And then I went over to Forbidden Planet, which is the only place you could buy Star Wars timelines. The time of this recording is coming out later in April. It's a great book that Jason and Cole and Kristen and Amy and Clayton all worked very, very hard on, very diligently on. And I can't wait till you see it because it has so much detail about the chronological timeline history of Star Wars, and it was a very daunting book that you will certainly see and hear much, much more about in the next few weeks. Then it was time for the Disney Parks Star Wars panel, and that had Scott Trowbridge and Matt Martin and a couple of others. I can picture them and I know their names, but my brain's a bit of a fog, but I did post a lot of it and live tweeted on Coffee with Kenobi's Twitter feed. And so the main things that come out of that is we're getting another Star Wars Olga's Cantina Rex playlist on Spotify, and those are fun to listen to. They gave out Gaia posters, talked a lot about the Star Cruiser, which of course Coffee with Kenobi listeners are going on June 12th to the 14th of this year. There are some spots left, so check out mousefantravel.com, or I'm sorry, Coffee with Kenobi. Yeah, please, coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. Please mention Coffee with Kenobi as the the site that referred you and say you want to go on the Coffee with Kenobi cruise, and they'll know exactly what that is.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
We're back on the show floor in the Denuo Novo booth, and I'm here with the great Mark Von Olin. Mark, great to see you, man.
Thank you. Hi, Dan. Great to see you as well. I can't believe it's another celebration. Here we are.
Here we are. So what has been a highlight for you? Because obviously we've known you for so long. Everyone knows you're a massive, massive Star Wars fan. Everything you do is like Star Wars gold. Legit.
Thank you.
That you're just very good at what you do. Walk me through the amazing things we've got in the booth here.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for Denuo Novo. If you remember Celebration last year, we were sort of new and we were just making our way through the Anovo's back order. I can proudly say now, as of a year later, April 2023, we're almost done with the back order. Most of the products that were on there are in stock and shipping. We have a few still on pre-order and a few more coming by the end of the year. And again, if anyone's out there with an Anovo's back order, email customer service at denuonovo.com, send us your order number, we'll confirm your shipping address, and you'll get your product right away. And then now we're looking very future forward, like what does Denuo Novo look like as a brand? So we're leaning into the Mandalorian pretty heavily. We've got some new Mando helmets for sale, 2 new variants of the Mando, battle damage version, a muddy version, so that's Chapter 2 when he fights the Mudhorn.
Right, the child.
Yep, exactly. And Chapter 8, Redemption, when the big fireball explodes at the finale. So we have both those versions. And we have a new Bo-Katan helmet on pre-order based on her look from Mando Season 2. You know, future Queen of Mandalore right there. I don't know who you're voting for, but Bo-Katan seems to be the heir apparent, right?
I think that's almost written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're certainly in the book of Bo-Katan right now as a season. So Katie's crushing
You
it.
just make that up on the spot.
Oh, no, I've heard a lot of people say it. So
I'm
I can't take credit for
I'm
that.
going to give you credit
Oh, okay.
officially on Coffee with Kenobi because that's the first time I've heard it.
Yep. Trademark, patent pending. So Book of Bo-Katan, going really well. Katie's crushing it. She's terrific. Love the show. And we're thinking all things Mando is our go forward right now on Denuo. I want to get to a point where we're doing Mando helmets that are blank, that you can customize, sort of join the clan. That'd be really fun. Like an unpainted but finished kind of look that you make your own design. Maybe some armor pieces coming at a later time. That's sort of my thought about what does Denuo Novo mean. We want to be able to cater to not just screen accurate costumes, but what can you customize for yourself to be the character and enjoy your cosplay. It should be fun, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, at the end of the day, if Star Wars isn't fun, then what are we doing, right?
Yeah, there's a reason this brand has been around for almost 50 years, right? It takes itself very seriously, which I will critique sometimes, but ultimately you're walking around over here, it's silly and fun. If anyone's listening to this and you're actually at Celebration, do yourself a favor and go visit all the fan booths, like the 501st and the Rebel Legion and all those guys. They have all these cute setups that you can pose in photos and stuff. I was in the cage, I was captured by the Sith, I was on the throne of Mandalore with my helmet, feeling my full Bo-Katan fantasy. It was awesome. So that's the kind of stuff where it should just be a good time and we should just enjoy it.
Right. See, this is why you're a good guest. So I know you're a massive Rebels guy like I am. Did you see the Chopper stuff? And how excited are you to see Chopper live action in Ahsoka?
Oh my goodness. There's never been a better time to be a Rebels fan. I couldn't have planned this. When we launched our YouTube show last year, Star Wars Rebels Revisited, Monday nights on the Virtual Cantina Network, my co-host and I, we talk about Rebels every week. And one of my friends actually said to me, didn't that show go off the air 4 years ago? And I was like, it sure did, but it's more relevant than ever. The Rebels stuff is sort of bleeding into the other streams of content. Ahsoka is looking more and more like Rebels Season 5. We've got live action Ahsoka, Thrawn, Hera, Ezra, who we just saw in hologram, live action Chopper, who looks like he's going to be a big part of it, which is exciting. We just saw Steve Bloom reprise his role of Zeb in Mando, which that came out of nowhere. So the Rebels fans are eating good. I already went over to the mural, prayed at the mural, took my photo, cried a little. It's been a good time to be a Rebels fan right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Mark, always an absolute pleasure. And again, let everybody know where they can pre-order or find all the great products from Denuo Novo.
Yep, great seeing you as well, Dan. For everyone at home, visit denuonovo.com. That's DENUONOVO.com. And you can follow us on social media as well. We're Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We might be on TikTok soon. So at Denuo Novo, and we're running a sale right now, 10% off helmets, 15% off costumes, free American shipping, and 50% off international shipping throughout the show.
Oh, that's great. Well, hey, thank you so much, buddy. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too, Dan, and may the force be with you.
In fact, I talked to a few people at Star Wars Celebration that are still very much thinking about doing that, which is very exciting. I hope that you do. It's very much going to be like our own little Star Wars Celebration. But we also found out the exciting stuff, I think, is that Star Tours is going to continue to add to its repertoire of planets that you can visit. And the cool thing, I think, is that they didn't say what the planets are, because in the words of Scott Trowbridge, some of these planets we have not yet seen or experienced yet. And they want those planets to be able to be revealed as the creators of the stories intend. So after that happens, and we get to see these planets in whatever form that takes, I'm assuming some sort of live action, most likely, then we'll get to see them on Star Tours. You're going to get several more of those starting in 2024, which I'm really excited about. I mean, Star Tours is great, and I'm glad that Star Tours is still around. There was a part of me that worried that once Galaxy's Edge opened that we would lose Star Tours. I think that was just something that a lot of people thought of, but we are not. It's very much alive and well and still touring the galaxy, and we're going to get more planets to choose from. So I could not be happier about that particular aspect of it. Plus, it's just great to hear that excitement. And if you haven't gone to Galaxy's Edge or the Star Cruiser, whether it's with me or anything else, certainly Mouse Fan Travel would be the way I would go to book it, because you get a no-cost, no obligation quote, and they will help you get the best price and plan possible. But this is not anything that you didn't already know, because Mouse Fan Travel is awesome, and so are the Disney parks. But I digress. So now after that, it was time to go to the Lucasfilm Publishing panel. So I ran, Father Jimmy and I went to the other end of the room, or not the room, the other end of the convention center. And that was a great panel. Michael Siglain, who's awesome. He was the host of the panel, and he brought out Kristen Baver and Amy Rakow and Clayton Sandell, and then Kevin Scott, and then the author of Light of the Jedi and so many Star Wars comic books, Charles Soule. They all spoke about the work that they've been doing. Kristen talked about her 100 Objects book. They all talked about the Timelines book. Amy talked about the High Republic Visual Guide. And then Kevin and Charles, who are great fun to listen to, by the way. They bantered back and forth, and they were highly entertaining for sure. And then I thought a really nice aspect of the entire thing was that Charles Soule's daughter came out, and she and Charles are writing a children's book together about overcoming fears and with Jedis that are younger. And it's so adorable, and it was so great to see. It was just very charming, especially as a father myself. And again, I can't overstate enough how hilarious Kevin and Charles are together. They're great fun. If you've ever seen them on panels together, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So a lot of great new reveals there. Another Star Wars cookbook is coming out, which is exciting, and then more stuff too. There's lots of excitement, and the High Republic announcements always get people very, very passionate and very, very fired up. And there was a great cosplay lightsaber duel at the beginning, which we showed on the Coffee with Kenobi's Instagram stories, and I put some stuff of that in Reel too. Hopefully you've all been noticing that every day I did a daily recap as a Reel that I posted on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So thank you. The more you can like and share and retweet or whatever, those things, the better, because then more people can become a part of this community. And it is wonderful, by the way. I know I'm talking fast, but I've got a lot to say, and I'm almost home, and I want to get it all out. There are more and more members of the CWK Cafe, our Facebook group, all the time, and it's just a wonderful place to have these kind of conversations, and I appreciate that so much. I've made so many friends because of all of you, so thank you for that. Let's see, after that, then we went back, talked to the authors on the panel, did some stuff with StarWars.com, and then we went out to dinner. It was a nice dinner. I went out with Adam Christopher and Kristen Baver and Chris Kempshaw and his lovely girlfriend and Father Jimmy, and we had a great time, had a nice meal. Then I went back, hung out with Clayton and some other friends, and then it was time to pack. And because it was the middle, it was getting pretty late, So I just didn't go to bed. I just packed up, which took a lot longer than I thought, because as you know, when you go to a Star Celebration, you always end up coming home with much more stuff than when you first got there because of all the great stuff. So I packed up, got my Uber, got back over to the airline. I got there so early because my plane left at 6 a.m. that even security wasn't open yet, which that was definitely not something I'd ever experienced before. Got through that. Then I had to fly to France and transfer there. And then I had to go through customs again. And then I went from France to Detroit. And as I mentioned, I didn't sleep because I wanted to avoid jet lag and get to the airport on time. This is how tired I was. When I got on the plane in Paris, I don't even remember putting on my seatbelt. What I do remember is waking up and seeing that we had an hour and a half to go, and the flight was over. And I looked at my watch and I realized that when it came to Illinois time, it was basically about 9 or 10 o'clock, and I thought, okay, I got to force myself to stay awake. One of the flight attendants came by and they said, "You missed the meal that we served on the plane, but you were out. You were really tired." And I smiled and I said, "Yes, it was a long day." So it's good, right? I mean, that's what you want. And plus, you got an 8 or 9 hour flight and you only remember an hour of it because you slept the whole time. I'd say that's a win. I'd say that's a big win. And then let's see what else. So I got to Detroit, had a little bit of a layover, got to catch up with my family, do some more social media stuff, and then now we are driving home. The one nice thing, I missed day 4, and that was too bad, but there is some great news about day 4, and primarily the news that the Bad Batch is coming back for a 3rd and final season. I'm not surprised it's a final season. I mean, would I like more? Yes, but I'm much more a fan of quality over quantity, and I'm grateful that Star Wars is mindful of that too and always puts story and character first, which is exactly what you would hope for as a fan, I would think. And so we're going to get another season of The Bad Batch, the last one. I wasn't there for that panel because I was on an airplane, but other people have told me how cool it was and what great stuff there is, and that's going to be great. We'll be able to cover that naturally on Coffee with Kenobi as we do so. Hopefully Mason will get ready for season 3. We don't know when it's coming out, it's just that it's going to come out next year, which will be 2024. Another thing that was announced, a massive thing that was announced, there's some great stuff for Star Wars Vision season 2, which will be wonderful to see. Season 1 was so exciting. The big news at the end, of course, is that they typically announce where the next Star Wars Celebration is going to be. It is going to be in 2025 in April. I do not have the dates in front of me, but it's around Easter weekend again. But it is April 2025 in Japan. That's right. The next Star Wars Celebration will be in Japan, in Tokyo. Amazing, right? I've never been to Japan. I've already been asked, are you going to Star Wars Celebration in Tokyo? Well, I sure would like to. We'll see. That's 2 years away, and I haven't even gotten home yet from this one. But I think it'll be fun, and who knows where we'll be in the world of Star Wars entertainment. But hey, they also said, by the way, again, I'm rambling. Very sorry about that. But they also mentioned that Kathleen Kennedy said there's other great and exciting new announcements coming in the next few months as well. We've got a lot to choose from. It seems like people keep saying, boy, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It's always a great time to be a Star Wars fan. There's a lot of great stories, a lot of wonderful books, a lot of great stuff on Disney Plus, a lot of great merchandise, but most importantly, a lot of great fans like you. Appreciate you all so very much. Again, there's always much more to come. There'll be a Mandalorian review of the 7th episode, which again I have seen and am sworn to secrecy, but all I can tell you is there are a lot of things to look forward to. Stay off of social media until you see it. You will not regret that decision. Thank you again so much. I am going to sign off here. We're getting close to my house. I'm really looking forward to seeing my family. Looking forward to seeing you, my Star Wars family, soon. As you know, there is no CWK live show this week, but next week is going to be a special show on Monday, and we will kick that off and finalize some things about Celebration and also give your top 5s of the 7th episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. So enjoy that, take your notes, and get ready for next week's live show. There'll be a couple Coffee with Kenobis this week, including our review of the 7th episode, as well as the podcast stage appearance, myself and Adam Christopher. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And remember, this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.